pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If you would please remain standing for a few minutes as we recognize those that we have lost. Thank you. Yeah. I don't even know what's going on back there. I'd like to welcome everyone here today and wish you a very happy St. Patrick's Day.
Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Yes, Erin Dobra. I would also like to wish my sister Jean a happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Jean. Woo!
She's in Pennsylvania, but she will be online later, so she'll check that out. Okay. Whew. At this time, I'd like to open up the public hearing for the unsafe building at 109 Center.
Do I come up or?
We have to actually open, we're opening up.
Great.
So I have to motion.
So moved.
Second. Okay, this hearing is now open.
Do I have to stand up?
Yeah.
Okay. For those of you who don't know already, my name is Laura Milsom, 105 Center Street, and my home lives directly behind the derelict property at 109. Even though our address says 105 Center, we are in line with the Van Zettas, who are on Liberty, and our neighbors to the other side, the Burnses, who are also Liberty. But because Sweezy was dead-ended at the back of our property, we were called Center. But actually directly in front of us is this 109 Center property, so we're 105, right behind them. So from basically every aspect of our house, side, front, and other side, we have been looking at this property now for, well, since we bought it in 2007. But at that time, it was occupied by the most wonderful neighbor we could ever have, Colin Dixon, who recently passed away. And we absolutely loved him. He was our very first friend in Highland Falls. He spent many holidays with us and many days visiting our dogs and stray cats and all of our family members. So after a year, so that was 2008, he could no longer afford the taxes on this property. It was owned sort of jointly by the family. It had a very large family, and they could no longer, pay that debt, and they sold it. And he went to live down in the Wyatt Green, thank you. And we continued our relationship with him there, and he continued to see us until the day that he died. So we loved him very much, and we had absolutely no issue with him or the property at that time. Once it was sold in 2008, the gentleman who purchased it, he was great. He came in, he's gonna renovate the whole place and fix it up and rent it or sell it. He came in, he gutted it, and ran out of money. And that's where the process ended in 2008. The property has been completely gutted and in a decreasing state of dereliction since that time. Then he went into foreclosure. HSBC became the owners, I don't even know how many years ago. For 6 years, we appeared before both the town board and the previous board and the current board to appeal our case. I have here in front of me 87 pages of documents, not including the pictures of the progressively, declining property in front of us. We tried to refinance our house last year. just because rates had gone down from 4.5% fixed to like 1 point something. And they told us that the property in front of us, 109 Center, was grossly impacting the value of our property. She had problems taking a picture of our home without including it in there, and that fell through. So the day prior to, as far as I'm concerned, God intervening, we submitted this package and all our pictures to a lawyer, and then the roof collapsed on the derelict property. Partial collapse, but enough to have it condemned. So I would just like to say that my family and I have now been going through this since 2008, and I think it's time for it to be resolved. And I would personally like to thank the board, the current board, for changing the codes that allowed this to actually move forward. Because I cannot tell you, I can tell you how many times I went to both the town and the previous village board to ask them to do something about this, and they passed it back and forth, and nothing was done, as witnessed by the fact that it's here again today, all these years later. So I would very much appreciate it, and my husband would very much appreciate it, and I think most people on Center Street and Liberty Street and Sweezy Street would appreciate it if we could move forward and condemn this place. Thank you very much.
Is there anyone else that wants to speak on, yes? Mrs. Prince.
I just have one to ditto what Laura said in terms of the property. I live next to the Milsoms, so that property impacts my property as well. And also, I have a rental apartment. I haven't been able to rent it for over a year. You can't get a decent tenant who wants to live next to a dump. And so I would just encourage the board to condemn, tear it down as quickly as possible. And as you all know, we are really in dire need of parking in the center of the village. I propose that instead of trying to build anything on that tiny property, unless you're building on the same footprint and it's grandfathered, you're not going to be able to comply with any village codes with that size property, that it be torn down, leveled, and made into public parking for the center of the village.
Anyone else want to speak?
Could I again do that? Just
Quickly.
Okay. My only issue, I agree. I definitely agree with Carla. There is a parking issue. My only concern would be that we also have a drug issue on Center Street, and I really don't want people pulling up and parking there so they can do their deals and then driving off. So my personal preference initially would be to have it fenced off until we can decide whether the best interest of the village would be to have it be a park or a parking lot or whatever, the community residents deem appropriate for that particular spot. But I can tell you that really close by, there's a lot of really great drug dealers that are very friendly and always looking for parking spots, and I really don't want that right next to my house or right in front of my house. So I would just caution making it an official parking lot until or unless we deem it, appropriate to
We have no
the
specific
neighborhood.
plans for it right now. We're just dealing with the actual building itself.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak on the issue?
Can I say something, please?
I was going to say something actually for you if you didn't,
All right.
so please feel free.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dan Olivia. I actually been in contract with this property for, come this May, it's going to be 2 years.
Hi.
All right? How you doing? I feel your pain. I understand.
Thanks.
It's not something you want to live next to.
No.
Now, the only problem is, let me address the parking lot issue. If you guys tear it down, you do whatever you do. I'm still in contract with the land. So you can't make it a parking lot, you can't do anything.
Nope.
Now, ever since you sent out that certified letter to them, the bank's been moving. They accepted the offers. I mean, the offer's been accepted for a year and a half. But now they're moving to the closing date.
Took them a long time, didn't it?
Well, it took them, it to be
It took 'em
knocked down,
6 years,
exactly.
yeah.
So what I'm asking is if we could have a week to figure out if they're really gonna close. They said they could close within a week to 2 weeks.
That's up to the board.
But I'm not sure. My lawyer's telling me that the bank's not responsive. But at the same time, my realtor's telling me that the seller's not responsive. So I'm just stuck in the middle here,
I know.
Oh, we've
The
heard
one thing,
that,
you know?
yeah, for all these years.
the one thing that I do want to point out,
Yeah.
seriously. The one thing I do want to point out is that Dan, I really appreciate Dan's efforts. This is not the first building that he has taken and basically resurrected. And I know he's looking to do more in the community. And being from the community and trying to improve the community, I have to say, I really appreciate it. That's why I wanted to, we waited as long as we could. What I'm gonna do at this point, here's the problem. If the people showed up, if the actual people who told Dan they were showing up actually showed up, I might have some leeway. I'm gonna ask the board to go ahead with the resolution, which still gives them 2 weeks, to tear it down, or to close the deal. We could, the board can make a decision that deal's closed, everything's done, paperwork's going, you're moving forward to build. We might
That's
change.
fair, 2 weeks I'll take.
I'm not giving you 2 weeks, I'm just saying they have that time.
Oh,
The
okay.
problem being, and here's the problem, a similar situation happened on Mern's, where we were moving to knock it down, all of a sudden the bank showed up and they're like, oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. Now this is after a long period of waiting, no one's doing anything, but we're gonna knock it down, whoa, 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 we'll fix it up. Now all of a sudden, everyone's gone again. Once the process was stopped of knocking it down, oh, you're gonna fix it up, great, thank you. Now everyone's a ghost again. Can't let that happen, because what it is there's 20,000 other things on our plate we gotta take care of, and there are too many of these buildings that are starting to pop up in our community. Because twice I was stopped just today, 2 other pieces of property that are in dire straits.
And I'll do them 2 by 2.
I'm gonna give them to you 2 by
Keep
2.
them coming, I'll
Trust
do 'em.
me. And that's the other thing, and that's the only reason I put it out here. Dan is a local contractor, he's doing this, so if there's a piece of property that you're concerned about, come to the board, but also, you know what? Dan's in the red truck driving around all over the place, catch him. And say, hey, take a look at this piece, because he's revamping buildings on a regular, and he's helping our community out, so it's a partnership that I enjoy. Let's see what they'll do. If they respond, we can't not move forward.
Yeah,
We're gonna
understand.
move forward, they have 2 weeks, and in that period,
They have 2 weeks from tonight?
from Wednesday. Wednesday is the date we set on the resolution, so it's 2 weeks starting on Wednesday, and then we have the option. They have 2 weeks to tear down, according to the resolution, they have 2 weeks to tear down the building, or we tear down the
Or
building.
close, no, right?
No, that's not part of the option. I have no problem redressing the board if they close the deal and you have ownership of the property.
Within 2 weeks, yeah.
And you make
Yeah.
it safe immediately, then we would consider something else.
Are you able to move on the property?
I can do it right now, but I'm not gonna
Tonight?
do it.
Because they're not around, I'll help. Bob will get his truck. But, no, I'm saying our resolution is for tear down. What
No, I
I'm telling you
understand.
right
That's why I'm
now
here.
is, if you own the property within 2 weeks, and because I know you're gonna make it better. If you own the property in 2 weeks, I'm gonna go back to the board and say, this is a piece, this is a piece of property that Dan wants to rehabilitate. I have no problem asking the board to reconsider.
All right.
That's what I can give you.
I mean, let me just say one more thing. If you do tear it down, now you're taking revenue away from the town, though.
No, well,
There's
some,
Yeah, I mean, you are.
there's some, well, actually, I'm not sure about the value now. Because
It's a gutted derelict property.
Yeah, I'm not sure what kind of value it holds
Just
now.
to have
what
another
kind
family in Highland Falls, you're bringing money to the town.
Dan,
you're
I would
bringing
love
tax
it.
money to the town.
There's like 4 or
You
5
know?
other buildings just like it though, they continue to grow. And then if the problem is we're not getting any response from these people. As I'm saying, we're at the point of tear down. Now they know, they're gonna lose out.
Yeah.
If they don't respond and we don't get it done, it's gonna be torn down. And we'll move on to the next building. If they respond, we will work with you, because we know how hard you've been trying over the last 2 years to get this done.
Excuse me, Pat, can I just say one thing? Dan, no hostility whatsoever.
You go ahead.
But this place has been gutted.
Oh, I know.
There's no possibility for rental income. I mean, it's
No,
gutted down to
he's
the
a builder.
original foundation.
He's a
I'm
builder,
saying right
right.
now.
Right, I know. Oh,
Nobody's
he knows
getting any
that.
money
He
out of
knows.
this place right
Oh, I
now.
know.
No, but that's what he
So-
does.
Oh, I know.
He revamps
So,
it.
either way, there's no money coming out of this until or unless it gets resolved,
Yeah, but it's
one
only
way
gonna
or
take,
the
it's only
other.
gonna take 4 to 6 months to get the whole thing done.
That would be great,
You know?
but we've been
In
waiting for,
Dan's
we've
hands,
been waiting
okay,
for
no,
6 years.
in Dan's hands, it's a different story. The problem is the banks had the control for the last 5 years. So that's why we're even considering it. Mrs. Burns?
I just wanted to know, in terms of the derelict properties that you're having this problem with, how many of them are affiliated with HSBC Bank?
That I don't know offhand.
And that might be something to look into.
I agree.
Because I honestly believe that there's a concerted effort to depreciate the properties in our village by having these derelict buildings here. I wrote to the Attorney General a few years ago. So I'm just curious to know how many of them
Okay.
are affiliated with HSBC.
We'll look into it.
All right,
Thank you, Dan.
thank you for your time, appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay, if there's no other discussion,
Well, I own the building.
oh, hello.
Yeah,
Hi.
but my lawyer is running a bit late, I gave him power of attorney to.
Mhm.
Not much I can say, and it is affiliated with HSBC.
We do know that. And we have,
I've been going backwards and forward.
I know you're in a hard place too.
I
I know.
honestly, I started, I looked it up, I started, and I'm stuck,
I know.
you know?
And there's in no way we want to pull the rug out on
I got a
you.
lot of warning, I got letters, and it's.
We know your stuff.
Well, we're hoping this helps both of you, helps you and Dan. Because if this is torn down, the bank loses. So hopefully the bank and the lawyers will say, oh, they're at that point, we have to sell. That's the goal of our movement tonight. It's not just because we want to tear down 20 houses in the community. It's because we want to get these people to move, or it's going to be torn down. It's just that simple.
Sitting in the office for a
I
long
know,
time.
I know. And hopefully we can help you with this resolution, we'll see. So let make sure they know that 2 weeks. And we are going to entertain, if it's sold, we'll entertain the fact that Dan Olivia will take control and do what's supposed to be done, which will help everyone. You'll get your money, the bank will get their money, and Dan can put a beautiful house up in the community. All right, I have a resolution in order.
You're gonna wait for his attorney? You can adjourn and come back.
All right, we will, do I have a motion to adjourn so that we can wait for the attorney if he's on his way? Do I have a second?
Second, adjourn or recess?
Well, we can reopen it. We can reopen it. Right.
And can I just say one more tiny little thing?
Yes.
Honestly, we never had any problem with this gentleman.
Oh, yeah, no, I know.
He came in complete good faith and started the work, and then for whatever reason was not able to complete the work. What our problem has been the process since it went from you to the bank. Our problem has been with the
Right.
bank, absolutely no communication with them, no, nothing. So we're not faulting you. And we support him in whatever happens in terms of that. But it's nothing personal, we just want it resolved, because it's impacting our home. Thank you.
Okay, I have a motion, I have a second. All those in favor of just adjourning this until we can see if the lawyer makes his way to the meeting? Opposed? Okay, we're gonna adjourn. At this time, I would like to open up a public hearing for the amendment to the jukeboxes and live entertainment code. Do I have a motion? Do I have a second? All those in favor? Public hearing is open. Is there anyone that wants to speak on the amendment to the jukebox? Thank you. The amendment to the jukebox and live entertainment code? Yes.
I was reading the code and I just had some questions on it.
Sure.
What is the cost of a jukebox permit?
$50.
And what is the cost of a live entertainment permit?
$50.
And why is what I didn't understand in the wording was the jukebox permit is paid annually
Mhm.
and the live entertainment permit is paid twice a year?
No,
That's what it says in the code.
it's paid $50, so it's $100?
January to June and June, yeah, it's twice a year for the
So it's $50 and $50. Okay, that's, I thought it was $50 for the year. So it's 100 for the live entertainment, 50 for the jukebox.
Okay. So what, okay, what is the revenue on a guesstimate, I guess, that you get per year for that?
$300 to $500.
Okay, and how many times are violations issued?
Very seldomly.
Then, I guess that's my biggest question, then why is the board amending this law?
Because it's come to our attention that there are, it's having a $250 penalty is non-effective when you're making $5,000 in one night.
But if you're seldomly giving out
We're going to start.
That's a
penalties,
situation they're gonna try to rectify.
This is the problem. In the past, it was rarely enforced. We have been going through all the codes, we have been going through the laws, the whole nine. We are trying to shore things up, we are trying to make things tighter. In that, we found that a $250 fine, when you're making $6,000 on a function, I'm gonna have the function. I'll pay the $250 fine, I'm still making $5,750. It's no big deal. But what we're trying to do is increase the fine to $1,000, that's what this is about, because that, we hope, would preclude someone from abusing the law.
okay, I'm gonna go out on a limb here and
Sure.
say that you're referring to Nicole's.
Any function that does it.
Okay, but the 250 and the 6,000 was a specific,
That's an example.
okay.
But
didn't
any of the bars can do that kind of number.
Right, but
or
didn't they
more,
come in right away
if
once
they're
they
that
got their
good.
violation?
What's that?
Didn't they apply for a permit right away once they were violated?
Once they were, I'm sorry?
Yeah, once they received the violation, once, figure of speech,
There was-
figure of speech.
They received a live entertainment permit, yes.
Okay, so again, all of this, I guess what it all boils down to is, the village is looking to revitalize Main Street, to bring businesses in.
Correct.
To be business friendly. It would appear that doing this is actually not being very business friendly.
That's actually totally incorrect.
Okay.
We are, there's a reason you set up codes and laws.
Oh, I
What we could
understand.
say is that the drinking age could be 10. No big deal. Or not enforce it when the 18 and 19-year-olds drink at the bars.
But
there are laws in place.
This has nothing to do with that.
Laws are laws. There are laws in place so that when people are abusing the law, just as it is now, if it's 2 o'clock at a bar and you're not supposed to be overly loud, but the bar's full and we're selling drinks and we don't care, and we tell the DJ to turn it up, we want everyone to stay another hour because we know we're going to make 500. If the police come, we can cover it. That's what this is for. This is so that we give parameters to the business owners.
Wait, this doesn't have anything to do with noise. This has
That's
to do
what the code is for.
No, the code, if I had a jukebox and I let it play for free, I don't need a permit.
I agree with her.
It's absolutely in this code,
I
that,
agree with that.
read the definition of what a jukebox is.
I know what a jukebox is, and I know what the live entertainment is.
Right,
The purpose of the code is to curtail, the law is so that you don't, it's a violation of noise, bottom line.
but, okay,
Chief, that's the violation of this
It's
code?
spelled out, that is a section of the law.
Thank you.
okay, but what I'm saying is, a jukebox can be played, if XYZ bar decides to plug up, so you can't put a quarter, 50 cents, whatever it is now, into a jukebox, and you could play music for free, they don't need a permit. Because then it's not considered a jukebox under your definition of jukebox.
Okay.
So what I would ask, again, I think the drinking and the jukebox, this doesn't really, I don't think there's a correlation there as far as this law goes. If it's noise, then why isn't there a noise ordinance? Because in all the surrounding villages, nobody has this type of law. They have noise laws, but they don't have this type of code. There's no jukebox and live entertainment permits, and I checked all the codes for all the villages and towns around here, and nobody else has it. So it seems a little archaic in that
Please, no.
Oh, I could, okay. I have something to
In
add to
that-
that. She's right.
if you're really trying hard to bring businesses in, that maybe I would ask respectfully that maybe put this on hold and just look at the code a little bit more, if you even wanna keep it, because again, in consolidation, don't the code books kind of have to,
We've asked,
Match?
yes, we have asked
and
that.
there is no code for this,
Which
this
is-
isn't on the town books.
Right, which is fine.
Mhm,
This is a code that existed in the village,
mhm.
and we're trying to utilize the codes to better the village. Bottom line, you can mix words, you can do what you like. The only reason we're visiting this code is to help the village. If we didn't pick it randomly and say, let's start adding
No,
money
and I'm not
here and
saying that
there.
you did, I'm just saying if it's rarely.
The
if you're
reason
rarely
why we're
giving out
adding
those-
$250 to $1,000 is so that the specifically live entertainment, which occurs at catering halls and bars, does not abuse the code. That's the purpose of this. This is what we are doing tonight, is so that the code is not abused by these establishments. If they abide by it, there'll be no problem.
Okay, well, again, I would respectfully ask that you don't move on the resolution tonight, and that maybe you look at it again, and you put in some provisions for, what if I had my permit, my jukebox permit, and I just forgot to renew it? Are you gonna actually then give me $1,000 fine, even though I've had it? And what about the bars, or
Does she have a jukebox?
what about no, I don't own a
Please,
business.
shh.
What about the places that have paid their permit, maybe for 5 years or 10 years if they're a long-term establishment? Maybe grandfathering them and say once they reach the 5-year, or once they reach the 10-year, you don't have to pay it anymore because you paid into it long enough and you've been a good neighbor. I just think that this law could be much more business friendly. But by doing what you want to do tonight, I don't think it's business friendly.
I think it's very community friendly, and
Yeah.
I also think that your suggestion as far as grandfathering a group in, that's definitely something that we can look into. I don't see that being a problem, particularly for an establishment that's been here for 20 or 30 years, and that, when we look, has had few to no problems. Then I have no problem with that. The $50, again, is not the issue, and I don't think you're gonna see that issue with most of the businesses. It's the way that it's enforced and the abuse, and that's what we deal with. And that's why we're dealing with this, because we see it. We're not doing this arbitrarily.
No,
We're
but-
doing this to address a problem.
If you said, I asked you how many, and I'm not trying to be argumentative, but I asked you how many tickets were given out. And you said very few. So what's gonna change now? If this goes from 250 to 1,000, other than,
The same way that any ticket is addressed, we have the option now to have more teeth with the law. That's our purpose, is that 250 does not sway someone who's making that kind of money in one night to stop their activity.
but you're saying you're not giving out those tickets to begin with. So is it a problem with enforcement or a problem with, I'm not, I'm sorry, I'm not
As I just
understanding.
said, that's exactly what we've been dealing with, is working on a combination of revamping the law and enforcement.
Okay, and finally, I guess then I wanted to ask this the night that the gentleman from Nichols was here. Does the village have any kind of, and I'm showing my age, but like welcome wagon for commercial businesses that wanna come in, where the village can say, you need this permit, you need that permit, we welcome you, but this is what you need? Does the village have that?
Normally, and I saw him come in the room, Mr. Osa is here, 99% of that, and though one or two board members pointed out when we had some businesses come up and tell us who they are, and we are trying to be much more business friendly. We've had a board member or two say, that's not our job. It's not our job to worry about the businesses. My response is, it is our job.
Yeah.
It's our job to worry about the businesses until we have a productive and functioning Chamber of Commerce. Then it is the village's job, the village board, to make sure the chamber is supported and the chamber is doing what they need to do. Then it is not our job to do that. It's our job to support the chamber. Right now, the chamber is still growing and trying to get where they need to be. So we're doing everything we can. That's a good suggestion, and that's something we can talk to Tom Osa about. from the chamber. Thanks, Tommy, you're the goods.
Thank you, sir.
But that's the point, and that's what we've been trying to do for a while. That's why we started the Main Street Revitalization Committee, so that we can get the Main Street trying to look better again. We've met with economic developers to talk on the big scale of redoing facades and larger scale projects on Main Street for the businesses. So we have actually been working very business friendly. This specific one, this specific code, is to protect this village from problems, and that's why we're putting it out.
Okay, the last thing I would ask is that maybe you put in some provision for a first offense, maybe a warning, rather than that $1,000. Because for a new business, that especially that didn't know that they needed something like that, that could hurt them. So that's it. Thank you.
Any other discussion on this?
Actually,
Sure.
Loma Side Street Saloon, actually followed her as far as what she's saying. First of all, as you know, I have Side Street, that is a private entity, I own the property. Does this now give the police more authority to come in and make the judgment call as to whether or not my music is loud because one person on the block decides to call to say, hey, the music is too loud?
No.
Okay, so they have no authority. The reason I said is I'm in
That's
business.
all. You asked me if they have more authority.
Yes.
This law does not give them any more authority than they have before.
Right, more
If they get a
discretion.
complaint, they're gonna come and say,
Sure.
hey, now, just since we're talking business friendly and we're talking police, I'm just gonna briefly say, we've had several concerned citizens about the parking tickets, parking meters. Chief Scott and I have sat down and we have talked about a much more friendly approach to our citizens about if the meters aren't paid, don't write the ticket as quick as you can and move on to the next meter. We are actually working on a much more proactive approach, and that is actually going into the store. If there's 4 or 5 cars in front of that store, I'm gonna go into 1 or 2 of the stores they're in front of, let people know, guys, I have the parking ticket book in my hand. If anyone hasn't paid the meter, please come outside. Much more friendly. We're trying to not have, oh my God, I got 6 tickets. I have people coming up afraid because the meter's not working and they're fearing they're gonna get a ticket. Okay, similar to your situation,
No, I totally
I'm
respect
working
what
with,
you're doing.
well,
I
I'm
thank
working
you.
with Ken also on that. Trying to partner with the businesses instead of being the Gestapo. And that is something that Ken has taken to heart, and he has also been pushing for it with me, because he doesn't, but at the same time, again, it's a give and take.
Right.
And when you're dealing with, it's tough to deal with bars, not you, but the clientele at 3 in the morning. That's 9 times out of 10, that's where the problems come into effect. And what we've got to do is be more proactive with the owners and do what we can. I don't believe we've had many problems. This is not we've had 20,000 problems, we're dealing with it. We're trying to be proactive so we don't have a problem. Okay? I don't even know if we should bring up a problem that just happened.
Why not? That's what we're here for.
Okay. Well, no, because we have received concerns and complaints, and we feel we need to make sure our village is protected, we move forward with this law. Okay? Can we say, you know what, guys, could you turn it down? Could you turn it down? That's gonna be on the police's end, as far as giving a second chance, giving this and that. That's them going in saying, do me a favor, take it down.
I understand.
And you come back the 4th time, and you get we'll do whatever we want, definitely not coming from Side Street, you're the
Thank
goods.
you. Right, absolutely.
But I'm not pointing out any bars, but I'm giving an example.
Yes.
We'll keep the music loud, we'll do whatever we want. That's when something like this helps us enforce it.
Have the
Because
authority.
like any
I
other
understand.
enforcement, once you give out this kind of a fine, 9 times out of 10, hopefully will not happen again.
Is that at the discretion of the judge though also?
Yes.
It's a maximum fine.
It's up to $1,000. It's not
like
automatically
the fines will be
$1,000.
raised, But if you're chronic, it could go that high. In other words, if somebody's been in there 5 times to see the judge, it could be fined up to $1,000. So if it's an occasional fine, it would be whatever the judge feels, but I think it's up to the discretion of the judge.
And that's like all the tickets, it's not automatic $250, it's not automatic $400 for speeding or cell phone or anything. It's up to the discretion of the judge, but we need to give the judge the power for someone who's breaking the law on a regular, because right now, all right, I just had 4 functions in March. Did $8,000 a night. Not only do I not have my permit, but I'm going until they come back 4 times and they tell me I'm shutting down every night. Every night, because they're trying to be nice, please take the volume down. Oh yeah, we will. Then it goes right back up and they come back 4 times.
Right.
That's the person that we're coming after.
Right,
That's the person
It takes
that,
the police away from the saving.
from the community.
Being safe in the community, I totally get that. But here, to go back to them, now that you're speaking of that, there was somewhere along the way, there had to have been a time that they had to come before the community to talk about who they are in business, what their hours of operation are, who they're going to be in business, whether they're going
I
to.
asked him, I said.
You have to
after-
do that in order
after
to
we-
get a liquor license to
After we
go
talked, though,
in New York
I
State.
asked them to please come in and come to the meetings and tell us all about your business in front of
Sure,
the camera. It's
as I
probably
did
the best
5 years
act.
ago.
And we'd love to have you, and we're not mad at you, we just wanna know more about you, please enlighten us.
Totally.
And, he didn't come,
Well, then you need, and not to be disrespectful, but now that lead should go to the New York State Liquor Authority, because you cannot in New York State own and operate an establishment, an entity that does not serve food and hold a liquor license. That is against the law, so you
Well,
might wanna
no,
look
yeah.
at a lot of things in that SLA law that you might all wanna be familiar with, because it's not just about like the jukebox. And when I spoke to the SLA concerning the jukebox, they were actually taken back by it, because they don't have nowhere on their books that says that they should be in charge of the jukebox, because they said they already are in charge of my jukebox. Meaning, I pay a operator's permit with New York State. I pay a permit to deal with my food. I pay an entity contract with Touchtones to bring in the line through Time Warner that I'm in contract with in order to have live jukebox / internet download. I also pay a fee, and I'm in contract with the fellow that actually owns and operates and maintains the jukebox. So I'm already getting hit 4 ways, and that adds up probably about $5,000, give or take, maybe a little under, a little over. So now to give me another $50, and then on top of that, boot it again. I have once a month, I have a DJ, as you know. Now, should the DJ be responsible for his own permit? Is it part of you, Pat? I hate to throw it out.
First of all, this permit's existed in this village for a long time.
And they said that, they
This is
said.
not something I brought,
No,
to the village.
not at all. Don't anybody misunderstand this. This has been going on for a long time.
The only thing we're adjusting-
I went from Suffern to New Paltz, and not one village or municipality can show me on the books their jukebox law.
the only
And I
thing we're
spoke to you
adjusting,
about this
I
a year
know,
ago.
the only thing we're adjusting is the penalty for violating the code.
Right, and can I just say one more thing? The SLA questioned me as to how the jukebox permit was presented to me, because it usually coincides with when you're on the application to apply, did I go before the board to tell them that I was going to start a business? Who am I in business? What are my hours of operations? Do I have a menu? All these things are in the questionnaire. So when I did all of the above, what they didn't understand is that I was asked to pay for a permit in January. I did not open the business until May 1st. Okay, so they wanted to know why I paid for a service that was never rendered from January to May 1st. Why did I pay the Village of Highland Falls for a permit when they did not approve?
5 years ago.
That's
not this
correct.
year, just
But
so
I'm
we-
saying,
just so
you
we're all
see,
clear.
nothing, yeah, exactly. But I'm saying, like, nothing ever gets done. Nothing is ever like solved here. It's always going on and on and on.
That's exactly what we're trying to do. We're going through
And it just.
these half laws and half codes
Right.
that need to be looked at and revamped.
Well, can I
This
just say one
one-
more thing? Sure. One more thing on that note is that, first of all, I'm a private entity, meaning I own the property, I own the business, okay? So it's a corporation, it's also a business. Everything was done the way I feel fit for me to be in business here in the village. So with that being said, I still control that jukebox, because I am an active, on-hands owner. So if I feel it's too loud, it comes down. If the DJ is a little tweaked, cool it. If I don't like the music, move it. We have a relationship. I have a relationship with the police department.
And I
will
don't think
call
you've had
them
any
if I have
problems
an
in the last
issue.
year,
And I
right?
have to say, the guys have been real good. I do not like
you.
every 30 days having to notify the village hall or the town police and ask for the history in a FOIL report every 30 days on Side Street Saloon. For the people that don't know that, that's what I do in order to keep track of what the village is doing while I'm trying to make it in the village of Highland Falls in business. And I don't know of any other business, and I've been around this about 40 years, that have ever had to pay attention to the village, whether it was the board in the past, the police department, but every
Since you were
30
five,
days.
Loma?
5 years, May 1st.
No, but I mean, you were 5 years old when you started?
Well, I was
Loma, as you just said, this last
But
year,
I'm saying, I have a
you've had a
nice
good,
relationship with the police.
this last year, you've had a
But
good
if you back me up,
relationship, correct?
let me say, not a lot of people could have held on as long as I did because of the nonsense, if you will. So all I'm saying is that.
Previous to this year, let's just be clear.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
And it has nothing to do with you, it has to do with me being a hands-on owner. Like, what is going on with this? You know, having to go to Albany. Are you kidding me? You can't have that many violations like in business. Haven't had the door open that long. I'm
Loma,
just
I've
saying.
agreed with you on all these things in the
Okay.
past, and that's why
But I'm still
we're
not
moving
happy with the
forward.
fact that I have to pay $50 here, another $50 there. If I have a guy once a month, what if the fire department or the ambulance has a square dance at night? Should they then come before the board and ask for a preference or a privilege permit in order to have beer, wine, and liquor over there, let alone a night of entertainment? Where does that fall on the boat?
It's with the police.
No, they have to come to the board and tell them what they're planning. And why is that? That's a huge liability.
The police give out the permit, not the board.
Oh, well then, we should ask the police, why is it then that they then come to the police?
Tell you what,
Chief?
Loma, rather than getting into it, this discussion, because it's a whole other topic,
Okay.
what I'll do is, Kenny and I'll sit
I'd like to have a
down,
meeting with the police.
write up all
and
your
you-
questions,
I tried.
because it's tough. No,
Oh my Lord. I
Loma,
called you today. I
Loma,
called you today.
please.
Left a message.
I know, I got it, please.
I understand.
You and I and Kenny can sit down
And the other
and hash out,
owners.
well, whoever wants
Yeah,
to,
let's open it to all the businesses
okay?
that have a jukebox.
That's
live
irrelevant to
entertainment.
this specific,
Fire
amendment.
department, the ambulance,
Right.
the Coles,
that's something that we can do.
square dance on Main
That's
Street.
fine. Write out the questions, make an appointment, we'll sit down with Kenny, and we'll hash it out.
Okay.
But that's nothing pertaining to this specific change we're making tonight.
Well, again, I don't think we should make the change until we absolutely get everybody together in one room, and let's all talk about it. All the people that have a jukebox, or live entertainment, or you're planning a picnic, and you're gonna bring in some Irish dancers, or you're gonna have a ball field, you know, and you're gonna bring in a band, a ZZ Tops. So, how are you gonna bring in a band over at Thickens Field? Who are you paying to? Where's your liability?
Okay, again, what we'll do is, we'll sit down with Ken on
Yeah.
that. Totally not the same as what we're passing tonight. What I will do is, we'll sit down and talk, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
We need to, because I'm not settled.
Anyone else?
And I never met you before, Kathy, but thank you for looking at.
Yes, Tom.
I'm saying.
I just have a quick question, and this is more just, wondering, is the code based on decibel level, or is it specific, like a DJ is just playing over a certain hour of the night?
If the police get complaints, they respond, and they make the judgment, and they ask them, particularly at time of night.
I'm sorry,
Ken?
I missed the question.
What is the complaint based on?
Like
Decibel
when-
level?
When somebody goes
No,
to,
the village code is if somebody, if they call and say that there's a noise problem, there doesn't need to be a decibel level.
okay. I was just wondering, like, you know, this is probably me, sticking my nose in somewhere where it shouldn't be, but like if it was based on decibel level, wouldn't that be a way to prove whether something was loud or not?
Right, but see, and it's not about that, and then when I said we don't give out that many, it's because when the police show up, a decent amount of the time, they take the volume down, and we're not talking about noon, and we're not talking about 8 o'clock. This is 10, 11, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning. Noise complaints may not be the DJ or a live band, it may just be noise. It may be a group of people. But as far as a DJ or live band concerned, with the police, 9 times out of 10, the bars are compliant. They may have to come back a second time. Are they writing that ticket? No, it's on the police, just like 99% of the other decisions that have to be made as far as our laws, and that's why we empower the police to make that judgment. No, we're not giving out 2,000 tickets a year. We're giving, it's that chronic abuser. It's the person that doesn't care that the people around them are trying to sleep or trying to maintain a life.
But it's not even just businesses.
I know.
It's people living next door to you that are blasting.
Right, and as I
My husband's
said,
trying to sleep right now. He's gonna work all night. If you've got somebody playing their bass, blasting their
Right,
bass,
okay.
it's like bang,
Right,
bang,
right.
bang, bang. That's.
I understand,
That's not
that is, please, don't, please, everybody, please.
But you're
We're
talking
not,
about.
no, please, we're not, does that answer your question, Tom? I wanna get through this and not spend another hour talking about things that are not relevant to the actual
Yeah, I'm
code.
sorry, I was
No,
just-
no, Tom, don't be sorry, that was an excellent question, and I appreciate everyone's input, but please, don't just speak up. Please be recognized so that we can have an orderly meeting and everyone just doesn't talk over one another. Before you sit down, Tommy.
Your next Chamber of Commerce
Thank you.
meeting is when?
Oh, yes, thank you. Chamber of Commerce meeting is tomorrow night. Actually, and I don't know your name, miss, but you had a question about new businesses coming in to, to learn what permits they need to get and the different compliance issues. We do that to a small degree. We will research your NICS codes. We have a partnership with the Small Business Alliance and SCORE. We did some seminars recently over the summer on how to start up a business and what are the things you need to go through. So if anybody has awareness of small businesses that are coming through, want to start up in Highland Falls or local area, they can certainly come to the chamber meeting and we can help them out.
And the members of the revitalization group are attending tomorrow.
Yes, tomorrow night I sent out an email blast about that. And thank you for your help.
Tom, thank you so much.
Yep.
Understand the change in the code is not, again, one, it's on the police to make a decision whether the violation has happened. Two, then it goes to the judge. First offense, first offense, he may say, look, you need to keep it down and let them go. The problem is, and this was the problem with a lot of our penalties, is that they weren't visited for many, many, many years. And that's why we took 2 or 3 other penalties that we give out, whether it's parking or other things, and made them similar to other communities. Okay? That's what we're doing. We are updating codes. That's what this is, and that's all it is. Nothing else has changed. The police will still do their job, and they will. This doesn't affect them not coming or coming to your establishment. What this does affect is it gives a little more weight to the fact of you really need to turn the music down. Because there could be and it's not just a $1,000 fine. What occurred already, it's already in this code, 15 days in jail. Okay, that doesn't mean that if someone has their boombox on, they automatically go to jail for 15 days. Okay? This has been in the village code for many, many years. Okay? What it is, discretion of the courts, it gives them the ability where if you have a chronic abuser or there is a massive issue, they have the ability to say, you're going to jail because this happened. And again, has nothing to do with this board. It has to do with the law enforcement and the courts. And that's what it's about. The only change in the code tonight is from $250 to $1,000 to give more teeth to the code itself. Jim?
Yeah, just real quick. Is this an amendment to the noise ordinance that we have in the village?
No, to the jukebox,
So it's just,
live entertainment.
it's just the law changing how much you
Correct.
pay or how much the fine is if you don't have a permit.
That's it.
So the noise ordinance, how loud the music is gonna fall under a totally different set of
Exactly.
codes. So this doesn't have anything to do with volume. Has to just do with whether or not.
Whether or not you have
You've got a
the
permit.
permit.
To operate.
Right,
Correct.
two different things.
Yeah, but I thought that was pretty standard.
You'd think.
That's what I was told.
You would think. That's all.
But Mayor Quinn, then, with this change that you're making, if you don't have a permit, if the police were called and they go in and they don't have the permit, there's no black and white. If they don't have the permit, they're getting a $1,000 fine.
Not true.
The judge can
the
give them up
discretion.
to $1,000 fine, we're just updating the fine.
And up to
Just
15
like
days
any
in
other
jail.
law.
He's just amending
Jail.
to be more clear with the fine, that's all.
Right, what we're saying is, the $250 maximum fine is not enough. Just like any other law has been updated
But
over the years,
it's
this
black and
hasn't.
white, whether or not you either have a permit or you don't.
Well, that is, yes,
That's-
yes.
Okay, so if I don't have a permit and you're giving me a ticket for not having a permit and I go in front of a judge
You can-
is gonna say,
He can set any fine up to
depends.
$1,000.
And the
And
police
he
can
can
give
pull the
you a
permit.
warning.
Oh, not pull a permit, there's no permit.
Well, but that's not what any of this says, that the police can give a warning for a permit.
The police can always give a warning for anything.
This is about raising the fine.
It's just raising the maximum fine.
To 1,000.
Nothing is
That's
changing in the code with the exception of the monetary fine. The way the code has been handled in the past is going to continue, except we are going to make sure that there is, you know what,
Enforcement.
there is going to be a change.
I've got a public meeting for everybody that's interested.
How about no? Because this is not required for that. Thank you so much. There is going to be a change. In the past, we have just hoped everybody renewed their permits in January. This year, we are going to require they be renewed in December for the following year. That way, everybody is compliant and they will have a follow-up, hey, we don't have your permit. Again, it's not, we're trying to sneak up on someone, this is not a money-making operation, okay? This is to keep everybody compliant. So, the change is, and this is what's been lax in the past, is that, oh, they got it, they don't have it, they don't. No. This year, we are setting in December, you need to have it December 1st. If you don't, you'll get a phone call, hey, get it down. If you don't have it by January, the law will be enforced. Does that mean that everyone's gonna get $1,000 January 1? No.
Right.
But we want people to be compliant. It's a decision. Is the law not necessary? Take it off the books. If the law is working, then make it work. Don't let it be a law that's just sitting there that nobody follows, which has happened in the past. This is exactly what we said before. We're going through codes and laws and trying to shore everything up to tighten up the books.
To standardize.
Yes?
I got it, Pat, I'm sorry. What you just said, Adrienne Voltaire, I just have to ask, because you just stated if it's not working, take it off the books. I can't help but say, I think this is an inane law.
I've sat down with Loma and we've talked about the fact that she's not sure if this law should even be there. Other towns and villages, other towns, not all towns, other towns and villages don't have it. Why do they not have it and we do? There was a period where I was like, sure, that, you know what?
$20 was.
Well, not even. No, is there reason for it? But at this point, I believe there is a definite need for it, and I think it is helping this village. And
Can I ask, that's my other question, what is it helping doing? Because you also said a few times that it's protecting people. I don't understand what this law is protecting people from. So just clarification, it's
No,
not
not-
about
No,
noise.
it's not noise.
okay, please.
So that's all.
I'll give you an example. If an establishment has functions and the reason for losing your permit is noise,
Okay.
okay? Now, you do not have a permit, now you have a function, we can fine you. Without the permit, there is no, unless we had another complaint, if we have a chronic abuser, and that's the problem, is one, the police can't be everywhere every minute. But what they can do is, if a specific place is not complying to the law of noise, they've lost their live entertainment permit.
But that's an SLA thing.
No,
Yes.
please.
Pat, it is.
They've lost their jukebox permit. It's a local law. Yes, SLA has theirs, and this is a local law. Okay?
Yes, it falls under that, and I was told that.
Thank you.
Right. I was told that, but that's why you go to Albany and you state what's all your violations are, and they all usually are about, excessive drinking, outside, loitering, loud music. It all falls under the operator's permit.
Right, it all falls under the operator's permit for the
be in
SLA,
business.
and that is a much more encumbered process. This local law allows us to protect our citizens quicker and easier. We don't have to go to Albany and build a huge case. If they abuse the local law with the local people, we can take it to task immediately. That's the purpose.
So again, I have to ask, who are the abusers? That's the other, I don't see, you say there's not a lot of tickets being written, this isn't happening, and I'm gonna let it rest, but like I said, it seems like an archaic, inane law.
Okay, so
that's-
as we've stated before, Nicole's was here,
Mhm,
they had a problem,
mhm.
they didn't have a permit. They operated for several months without it. According to the owner, he didn't know he needed it.
Okay.
Okay? So, I'm concerned about the functions that are happening at Nicole's. I have no problem, okay? They're attracting a large group from Spring Valley and Newburgh. Okay?
Okay.
You wanna know why? This is why this is happening. So,
Yeah, that's what I wanted
I was
to hear.
given, please, I was given at the last meeting, that Nicole's was at, the fact that we're targeting them, it's not fair. So the board discussed it, and we said, you know what? We're not targeting you. But, in all fairness, you can have a live entertainment permit. And that was Wednesday night. They were let know on Thursday afternoon. You have your permit. That Friday, less than 24 hours, they had a little over 200 plus people at a Nicole's party. Now, they didn't have a permit on Wednesday. They got a Thursday afternoon, had a 200 plus person party on Friday night, where a brawl fell into 9W and involved not just our police, correct?
Right,
Not just our police, town police,
Bear Mountain.
Bear Mountain, and Cornwall was called in?
It wasn't 9W, it was 218.
218, my bad, I'm sorry, you're right. Outside Nicole's, but into the street. 4 departments were called in. This is my concern. So, if they abuse, now, per function, we can't necessarily shut Nicole's down.
Was the SLA notified of that big brawl?
Yes, they were, okay? But what we can do through this law, that our local bars have already 9 times out of 10 cooperated with, it's not a big deal. And that's not, if that becomes an issue, then it's there to protect us also. But if the permit is taken away, and they're not allowed to have DJs and live entertainment, then we have the opportunity to fine them and put them in jail every time they do.
You put teeth in the law.
That's what
Put
the,
some teeth in the law, right?
that's what the purpose is.
I hear
And
you.
we only
The
have
purpose is
one,
to target this one.
no, it's to deal with this, no, it's not targeting any, thank you. We're trying to deal with the problem, so you're okay with that then? You're okay with brawls in the street?
I'm not okay with the,
Occupancy.
what I'm
and
not
crowd
okay
control.
with is
Thank you, Loma.
is using one particular law to target one business owner, one problem, one issue, and I'm sorry, that's what you just told me you're doing.
If I'm doing the right
So
thing, then I
that's
have
all.
to fall, I'm the fall guy for everybody else who's not doing the right thing.
No, what we're doing is dealing with a situation. Now, with that and again, all we're doing is increasing the fine. The law is not changing one bit. We're increasing the fine to, and I'm not gonna say it again, to give teeth to the law. So with that, I'm going to, sir, yes, please.
I'm Wayne Kocher, a friend of mine from Loud Music and other people I know, serious ear damage. Which his ears ring now unbelievable. He can't even hear a compressor go on at work. It's just unbelievably not where you want to be. When you're half in a bag or under the influence, you don't have this shuttle for I better get out of here, so I understand where you're coming from.
Thank you.
Make one comment here.
Yes, Mr. Copal.
I'd like to echo what the gentleman who identifies himself as Tom, I don't know, about the need for a decibel law, because without it, you have pure discretion. Person A is gonna feel that it's too loud. Person B, whether it's a policeman, they're not all gonna have the same feeling. The other persons who are the victim to the noise. I had come to the board shortly after the 4th of July last year and had raised the issue of decibel. was supposed to be looked into. To my knowledge, I don't think anything was ever done. If it was, no one ever contacted me, nor did I ever see it in the newspaper. I think that that's,
Could you touch base directly with Kenny and we'll put one together then? That's all, done.
that's what I did
Did
in
you-
July.
Kenny, did you meet with Mr. Copeland?
We
He
talked.
wanted the law.
Okay, well,
Yeah, the law
let's not
had
just
no
talk then. Let's sit down and let's see if, and then we'll let the lawyers look at it and we'll see what the benefit to the community. I have no problem with looking at that at all. Okay,
Can I just add one more comment, and it has really just to do with the application, why do I have to give you my social security number and the serial number?
no, because that actually is something we're gonna sit down with Kenny about, it has nothing to do with this law,
Okay,
and that'd be another
Thanks,
discussion,
Ken.
so.
yeah.
We'll get it done this week, we'll get it done this week. Okay, Village of Highland Falls, introductory law.
Close.
Amendment to, oh, I need a motion to close the public hearing. Need a second? All those in favor? Opposed? Village of Highland Falls, introductory local law, amendment to the jukebox and live entertainment code. Being enacted by the Board of Trustees of the Village of Highland Falls, County of Orange, State of New York as follows. Section 1, Chapter 126, titled Jukeboxes and Live Entertainment, is amended as follows. Section 126-1, titled Definitions, is amended by amending the term live entertainment and by definitions thereof to read as follows. Live and or musical entertainment, the act of entertaining a public or private audience directly at the time of production or at the act of providing musical entertainment, whether by live entertainment, recording, DJing, or other forms of musical entertainment. Section 126-1, titled Definitions, is further amended by amending the definition of person, firm, corporation, or association to read as follows. Includes any person, firm, corporation, or association which operates a jukebox, any person, firm, corporation, or association in whose place of business any jukebox is placed for use and/or any live or musical entertainment is offered. And any person, firm, corporation, or association having control over jukebox or over live or musical entertainment. Section 126-9, titled Penalties for Offenses, is amended by amending the first sentence thereof to read as follows. Any person violating any of the provisions of this chapter shall be guilty of violation, and upon conviction thereof, said violation shall be punishable by a maximum fine of $1,000, or by a term of imprisonment of not more than 15 days or both. Section 2, this local law shall take effect immediately upon filing with the Secretary of State. Do I have a motion to accept the resolution?
Pat, I just gave Charlie the adoption.
Oh, the
That's-
adoption, thank you. Thank you. Whereas an introductory local law entitled Amendment of Jukebox and Live Entertainment Code was introduced before the Board of Trustees of the Village of Highland Falls on March 3rd, 2014, and upon notice duly published and posted, a hearing was held on March 17th, 2014. Before the Board of Trustees, and whereas public discussion was heard at such hearings concerning the merits and environment significance and said introductory local law, be it resolved that the adoption of the introductory local law entitled Amendment of Jukebox and Live Entertainment Code is a Type 2 action under seeker and is hereby determined not to have a significant effect on the environment. Be it further resolved that the introductory local law entitled Amendment of Jukeboxes and Live Entertainment Code by the Village of Highland Falls be and hereby is adopted as local law number 1 of 2014 of the Village of Highland Falls on March 17th, 2014. Can I get a motion to accept the resolution? Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Roll call, trustee Farina. Aye. Trustee Mallon. Aye. Trustee Murphy. Aye. Mayor Flynn.
Aye. And just to reiterate, this is a, the only change here is going from $250 to $1,000. Perfect timing. We are going to reopen, I need a motion to reopen the public hearing, to reopen the public hearing on the unsafe building on 109 Center. Do I have a motion? So moved, second by trustee Mellon. All those in favor? The hearing is open. Do I have anyone else that would like to speak on this?
Yes, I would.
Please.
Mayor, Philip Lucrezia, from the law firm of Lucrezia and Partners, on behalf of Harold Davis from 109 Center Street. The reason why I'm here is because we received a notice, and we'd like to offer a proposal. I think that Mr. Olivia, I believe, was contacted by the board to perform the demolition project.
Well, we asked for bids.
Yes, for bids, okay. Well, we have a contract of sale that's been signed by both parties. It's currently undergoing short sale review. What we're proposing is that you get a bid, instead of knocking the house down, to shore the property up, tarp the roof. I went by the house before, earlier today. It seems that the main house is pretty structurally sound. Looks like there was an extension added outside of the foundation, and that's the part that has the problem. The proposal is to allow that, let somebody go in, secure it for a cost that's a lot less than demolition. Give us another 60 days to try to get the short sale approval so that Mr. Olivia can buy the property. Our other concern was whether the bank and the IRS in New York State have been notified, because they will have liens on the property. I'd like to know the answer to that.
Yes? Yes, they have.
Well, Mr. Davis has gone through a lot. It wasn't his choice to allow the property to fall into the condition that it is. I think that it would benefit everybody to allow, 60 days. I believe that I'm at the end of the approval process with the bank. We've come a long way from where we started. I'm helping Mr. Davis out on a couple other properties as well. And I just think that knocking the house down, incurring a huge fee that Mr. Davis doesn't have the funds to pay, is gonna put a burden on the village. It's gonna be a lien on the house, together with tax liens and mortgage lien. I know they come second priority, but, I don't know what benefit it is. I think it's more beneficial to try to shore up the property, ensure that it's not gonna be falling. I don't think it's gonna fall from what I can see, except for that one portion on the side, which is problematic, and allow us a chance to sell the property.
The problem is that we've had 5 years. The problem is that we have constantly contacted all parties involved on a regular basis, getting no response. I know we've talked, and I know your hands were tied because the bank is basically the one driving this issue.
Right.
And and I feel bad for all parties that are here, because you guys are actually concerned. The problem is, it's still up to the bank. It's not up to you, or the owner, or the person who wants to buy it. So by giving you the 60 days, which we've given 5 years, we're just giving another 60 days for a derelict property that part of the roof has caved in, and our structural engineers have gone in and deemed it unsafe. I understand you drove by and saw the partial collapse on the one piece, but our structural engineers have deemed it unsafe, which means that I don't want to take a chance a child decides they want to play inside the house and play house, and another part of the roof go down.
And the building department's contacted the lender numerous times, and they asked him to board it up to make it safer than it is now, and they just didn't respond. So we're left with a building that's unboarded and a safety issue. I mean, if you had a good track record, maybe and boarded the place up and it wasn't a safety issue, then, it'd be a different conversation we're having today. This probably wouldn't be happening, but, that's never been done and has never been addressed, so.
Can I ask what the bids were for demolition?
No? Yes?
I don't have all of them.
I mean, I have them. I don't know if we can just publicly.
Ballpark?
Ballpark,
Well, we
between
haven't-
10 and 20.
We haven't selected a.
We have not
vendor
selected
yet,
a
so
vendor.
I don't think that it'd be wise to mention. We've got 2, and I think there's a third coming, or I'm not sure, but it wouldn't be.
Well, if Mr. Davis is ultimately gonna get billed with the cost of it, I think that's something that, as his attorney, I should be involved in. Because in your letter, I mean, forgive me for my ignorance in how this
board operates, this is my first time up here, okay? If in your letter you claim that if he doesn't do something about it, there's a $250 a week penalty, right? And whatever costs there are to demolition, or whatever you choose to do, whatever the board decides to do with the property, are all gonna be charged to him and put as a lien on the property. I mean, I think there's a say in that.
And
Well, because the point is, I think that for a lot less than $10,000 or $20,000, the property could be secured, so it's structurally
property
sound.
could have been secured 5 years ago, 4 years ago, 3 years ago. When I became mayor, I made serious efforts to contact all those involved. Little to no response whatsoever. Now that we are, no, I did contact you and you said your hands are tied. His hands are tied.
But
That's not our fault.
I offered other alternatives, Steve, that I never heard back from.
You're talking about the village buying the property. We don't have that capacity at this point.
Okay?
Nor did we have it a year ago or 2 years ago.
Well, the contract of sale is for $8,000 with Mr. Olivia. If the village has 10 to 20 to knock it down, they have 8 or 10 to put in the bid to buy it.
We don't want to. I'd rather have Mr. Olivia buy it and fix it up.
Well, my point is that we've made, I've
But you can't
responded-
do anything. You can't do anything because the bank hasn't allowed you to do anything. Because if you could, this property would be sold and Mr. Olivia would have it and we'd have a new building up.
Can I
So
say
you're telling me
something?
right now, please, you're telling me right now that because we're gonna knock it down, now you can actually move to get it sold. Why is it different now than it was done 2 years ago?
It's different now because we have Mr. Olivia with a contract of sale. 2 years ago, we didn't have it.
A year and a half ago, he was involved, actually.
Okay? But the point is, we have a contract of sale now.
A year and a half ago, you had a contract with
But
sale.
you said this has been going on for 5 years.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so sometimes short sales take a year or two. I mean, that's the reality of it. I know
Well,
a lot of it.
unfortunately, the short sale's going long, and that's where our board is at.
It is one of the longer ones, that's for sure. We have other ones that are as good.
The other biggest problem is we're dealing with a community that has had to deal with this for 5 years, and as aggressive as we've been over the last couple of years, and I lauded Mr. Olivia for not just this building, but several of the buildings that he's been able to bring back, and that's fantastic. And this one is unfortunate because I would love to have done more back. But you can't give me a guarantee that in 60 days this will be done. You can't.
I can't give you a guarantee, but I would offer that, you know, we would cooperate with your efforts.
You've been cooperating with our efforts for the last year and a half. You told me that. You're doing everything you can to get this, that's what you told me when we talked. I'm doing everything I can to get this deal to go through. That was a year and a half ago. You don't have the power. That's the problem. I appreciate it and I understand what you're doing. I feel bad. But no one in this room has the power to get the sale done. The only one that has that power is the bank. And they're holding it up. And if we give 60 days, the problem is we just had a situation like this with another building. And backed off and said, hey, no problem, we'll give you some time. All of a sudden, everyone became a ghost again. Now we're another 2 months, nothing's done, when it was supposed to be dealt with right then and there. So how long do we wait until we move on this property, is my question. And why are we extending it 60 days when we've had all this time in the past? And why weren't we contacted 6 months ago that, hey, before it gets to the point of you tearing it down, because I talked about that when we talked a year and a half ago. Before it gets to that point, let's get this thing done. We're on board, Mr. Olivia's on board, the owner's on board, and I know you're on board. The only people that matter here are the one, the bank.
Yeah.
Because that,
They don't own it.
So they don't need.
No, I think the people that own are the people whose properties are being devalued.
I
And
got-
have been devalued for 5 and 6 and 7 years.
please, it's not an open forum. But, did you have anything else for the board?
Oh, could I ask
Yes,
a
please, yeah.
clarification? Are you suggesting that your client may shore up the building and secure it immediately if we were to give 60 days? It's a safety issue now. We can't, there's a children's park across the street. It cannot stay the way it is. Is that something you're proposing?
I haven't discussed that with him. I don't think he's in a position to do that. What I was proposing was, if the board, if the village was going to pay for demolition, take a less aggressive step at first, and take the step of shoring it up and forwarding it.
But you realize now that's another additional cost. In 60 days comes up, and nothing's happened, and now we're gonna tear it down again. Now we've already spent $2,000 or $1,000 to board it up. It's gonna be more than that because you have to deal with the roof that's collapsed. So $2,000 to deal with the roof and board it up and make it safe. And now we go out for bid, and all the bidders are like, we kinda lowballed it. Now all the bids went from $20,000 to $30,000, and now we're another $10,000 down of the village's money. Again, I would love to work with you and make it happen. 5 years. I know you guys have only been in the process for a year and a half, but it's a year and a half. And again, it's not your fault. It has nothing to do with you. I know we're all trying to get this done. Has the bank given us any indication that in 60 days we'll have a deal? Do you have anything in writing for the bank saying, we're moving forward?
I don't, and they won't give that.
Well, what I can do for you today, and that's up to the board, it's not up to me, but I said a similar thing to Dan, and that is, if you can get something from the bank, in writing, that's gonna guarantee some kind of a deal, and you need 30 days to pull it off, I'm gonna move forward on the demolition tonight. But if you have 2 weeks from this Wednesday to demolition it yourself, during that 2-week period, if you can get me something from the bank that's saying, deal can be done, we need 4 weeks, we need 6 weeks, I will bring it back to the board for their pleasure and ask them if they are willing to wait 6 weeks because we have something in writing from the bank. But again, now we're making the residents of the community wait an additional month, 2, 3, 4 months, 5 months on demolition that they've had to deal with the last 5 years. You do understand our situation, correct? Okay. I mean, it's up to the board. The board can decide that we'll give you 60 days, we'll give you a year, it doesn't matter. What I'm gonna propose, and it can be turned down, is that we move ahead with the demolition. If you can, in the 2 weeks, give us some kind of movement on the property, we'll consider not demoing it. Because after the 2 weeks, it's gonna be on this board to demolish the building.
Can I ask one more question before you go ahead and do that? I haven't seen any copies of the notices served on the bank and the lien holders. And, I mean, I think the board, and certainly you, Mr. Mayor, have had notice that I'm his attorney for a year and a half. Does anyone have copies of that?
Our lawyers have copies, and they,
Building departments.
yeah, our lawyers have taken care of everything. So if you're looking for copies, you're more than welcome to call them tomorrow and get the copies.
And the building inspector.
That's not part of our packet here tonight.
He's made numerous letters to the bank.
Right.
To resolve it, make it safe, board it up, on and on and on.
I'm assuming you have our lawyer's contact, being the lawyer that deals with the village.
Yes.
Ben Gailey,
Yes.
you been in contact with him?
I haven't made contact with him, but I know.
Well, that's, again, and I understand, when you're saying, do we have the papers? Why have you not been in contact with our lawyer to maybe settle something or push this forward, push it out? How come we haven't talked to our lawyer to try and do some work?
The first time I heard of this was when I received a notice about a week ago.
So we've had a week.
It's the first notice I've had.
Mm-hmm.
So my plan was to be here and discuss it,
But you've had a week to try and deal with the situation before we got to the board, which means we could have sat down, possibly talked to the lawyer, maybe made some modifications, maybe waited till the next meeting, so we could have seen some movement. But now you waited a week, now we're gonna wait 60 days, now we only need 2 more months, now we only need 6 days. Again, it just keeps pushing out. And our obligation is to our taxpayers and our citizens. That's our obligation. And they've suffered for a long period. And I think we've been more than fair in 5 years. And again, it has nothing to do with you guys. You bought the property, I'm sorry. It's a tough buy. It's not our fault that everybody else dropped the ball. We were not involved 5 years ago. We were not involved 2 years ago. We're involved now because we're on the board and we're trying to deal with the situation. That has not been rectified in 5 years. This should have been rectified 5 years ago. So again, I'm gonna move forward. If you have any documentation, any anything saying, you know what, the bank realizes they're gonna lose. Is the bank losing anything in this? Exactly. So if we don't, we're only getting action here because we sent a notice that we're demolishing the building. That's why people started to show up. So now maybe the bank will realize they're gonna lose too, and they'll get involved. There's no other way we can encourage them to help us. There's no other way we could have them deal with their property. And it's a shame, I hate it. But we're not gonna go another 5 years. And we don't have the option to move the problem along. It's 100% on the bank. Any other comments from the board?
No, I mean, we consider, it'd be good faith gesture on your end if you get it boarded up tomorrow, if you're really serious about coming to us and with a deal from the bank. Either way, it's a safety issue, and that would mean a lot to me if you could do that.
And again, we have the authority to stop the process if we see some action. I personally, as with Dan, I want to see another tax-paying building in our community. I don't want to see a vacant lot. It'd be nice to have another building, beautiful building, nice family move in. That's what we want. We're not getting it. It's not happening. Comments other from anyone else? Yes, Dan?
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
Now, who's in contact with the bank? Because if Harold, he doesn't own the property, correct?
No, he owns it.
He owns it. So I don't understand what the problem is. 2 years, I've been doing this a while now. To wait 2 years for a property, it's kind of ridiculous. So what I'm trying to get at is, your whole thing is it's unsafe. Now what happens if I boarded it up? Then it's resolved.
No, actually, the property has been,
But you,
we would like it boarded up so it's safe until the demolition. Bottom line, our engineer said it is a structure that needs to come down.
but Mr. Mel, you said if it was boarded up tomorrow,
I said that we would consider, so if you came to us before we issued the demolition order with a deal is imminent, I got this in writing, the bank is gonna sell it to me, I would be, personally, I don't know how the board feels.
I'm with you.
If you told me, that I got a deal, it's going on right now, I'm gonna remodel it, and you had to board it up, then we'd say, okay, give the guy a couple more weeks, and let's wait till the closing, but, I've heard that a million times, and John Hager's written the bank numerous times, and most of the time, they never even got back to him.
so who's in contact with the bank then? Because I can't talk to them.
We've
I'm trying to try.
contacted the bank and tried to contact the
They're
bank
not responsive to Sean.
hundreds of
No,
times.
They're not supposed to, I mean,
But they said they have to talk to you.
It has to go through the
So,
firm.
but,
Dan.
so what's where we at with the bank? What decisions are they making? Because I keep hearing a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. What is it? It's been going on 2 years now. I mean, I have money tied up. It's not a lot of money, but it's money. And this property has stopped me from doing many other business ventures. Because I don't want this to come along and not have the resources to do it. Do you
Dan,
understand?
if this was in your hands and you needed
This has
needed,
been done 10 times
I
already.
know, well, that's what I'm talking
Yeah.
about. If it's in your hands and you said, Pat, or board, there's nothing I can do for 3 months, I can't do anything. I personally wouldn't have a problem. Knowing it's in your hands, you're gonna build this thing up and make it great. None of us in this room have the authority or power to do anything in that building. The person we're trying to reach is the bank. And if they don't feel if they feel tearing it down is not worth their time, that's what's gonna happen. There's nothing, 60 days isn't gonna matter, 6 more years isn't gonna matter, except the people of this community are gonna suffer for 6 more years.
Alright, well, can I say this then, Phil? If you can get something from the bank, like Mr. Mayor wants, then I'll board it up, and I'll fix it up. But I have to be almost guaranteed that I'm gonna get the property, because I can't do all this work,
Right.
you know, take the time out, the labor, the cost of materials, and then still lose it at the end.
Makes sense, I understand.
So, that's what I'm willing to do on my end to try to make this move along. If you could get something from the bank, that'd be great.
If the two interested parties can get together and immediately secure that building so kids can't just run in and have something collapse on them, then I think members
buy
of the
some
board
time.
would extend the time.
I mean, I agree with the board, because I walk my kids past that house every day, and I don't even like being over there. Because I know I'll walk and fall down, and the whole house will come down.
Well, who's liable for the insurance on the property? The village or the?
The bank is paying for the insurance.
The bank is the
That's
primary
what we
insurer.
And it's still devalued in our properties.
That's the problem.
It is,
So
but
there's a
ma'am,
whole
when I'm
bunch
done
of
with
us
it,
whose properties have been devalued for 5 years now.
Right.
not just us, you know, the Burnses, everybody around us have been devalued. And I had the assessor come and she put it in writing that my property has been devalued because of that property. We tried to put our house up for sale right now with that completely derelict, condemned building, fallen down roof, right directly in front of our home. That house is not selling. And that's directly the fault of the people that have not done anything with this property for 5 years. And that goes for the people who live directly in front of us, to the side of us, on both sides. You know, it involves like 6 or 7 families, not just us. And, you know, I don't think it should take 5 years to get something like this resolved.
Can I just understand, the timeframe is 2 weeks from Wednesday?
2 weeks from this Wednesday.
2 weeks from this Wednesday. And what is my deadline to produce something
No,
to you?
because
2 weeks from
nobody
this
ever
Wednesday.
knew
Okay, so right up until the day
the
before,
actual- it belonged to.
you would entertain something better.
Correct.
Next board meeting will be the Monday before, that he can introduce something.
And there's,
right?
and again, I'm not telling you, we'll put it in writing, we're waiting 5 years. You gotta come with something real. Something that's, I want Dan to have the property, I want this village to move forward on this. I don't wanna have to deal with this again and again and again. And I appreciate your coming tonight, I appreciate your time, and I don't wanna be that guy, but this is a buildup over 5 years. And having constant complaints from the community and zero response. Not from you guys, because you guys were there. And you're the biggest person who's getting hurt in this, and I know that, sir. And if there's any way to resolve it, we will. But we can't just keep putting it out and putting it out and putting it out. We can't.
So just
Okay?
so I can understand with Dan before you vote and finish the meeting. So I have 2 weeks from Wednesday, and then when I get that in writing, I'll be in touch with Sean Brown, and then you'll go in and board up if it's something that you're willing to work. Right.
I'll board it up, but I have to have some assurance that I'm gonna
Right.
get the property.
Don't board it up without contacting us.
The goal is to get hopefully an approval in writing, or at least something that says an approval is imminent. And then at that point, you can make a decision with Sean if you wanna work on it, or we can work something out with Sean.
Because of the time issue, when you get anything, you want to get it to the clerk, myself, and our lawyer, all three at the same time. So that he can look at it immediately, give us an assessment, and we can make a decision. Okay?
All right, great.
I really appreciate you coming, and again, sorry to be so stern, but it's just something we have to deal with. Thank you. All right, so I have no more comments. I need to close I need a motion to close. Do I have a second? All's in favor? I have a resolution order of Village of Highland Falls Board of Trustees unsafe building termination order, 109 Center Street, tax map number 103-20-4. Resolved that the following findings are made. The Board of Trustees has received and reviewed the report from the village's professional consulting engineering dated February 21st, 2014, and of his and his building inspector's inspection of the premises located at 109 Center Street. The report sets forth the conditions found to exist at the premises which, in his professional opinion, render the building on the premises unsafe pursuant to the village's unsafe buildings code, chapter 76. The report concludes that, based on the unsafe conditions and substantial damage, the building should be demolished and removed, and the report makes that recommendations to the board. Resolved that the following determinations and orders are made. The board accepts the findings and recommendations of the village professional engineer and the building inspector and determines that the subject building is unsafe and must be removed. All debris, rubble, and parts of the building must be removed from the site. The site shall be stabilized and made safe. Such work shall commence on or before March 19, 2014, and shall be completed on or before April 2nd, 2014. Property owner or persons having an interest in the building of premises may seek to have this determination or order vacated or modified. A due process hearing shall be held before the Board of Trustees in accordance with Chapter 76 of the Village Code on March 17, 2014 at 7 p.m. so that the owner of the building or premises or persons having property interested therein may be heard as to whether this order should be affirmed, modified, or vacated. On a motion, I need a motion to approve the resolution.
I make the motion.
I need a second. Second, roll call.
Roll call.
Oh,
What discussion?
what? Question?
Aren't we modifying this, though, to
No.
accommodate? no, this
You're
is.
not at this,
Confirming the dates.
we're not modifying this at this time.
You want
We
to
have-
affirm the dates of March 19th
Correct.
to April 2nd. That's all you need to.
That's all we're doing today. Okay?
I'm sorry, who motioned that?
It was Mr. Mellon, seconded by Mr. Farina. All those in favor? Or no, roll call, please.
Roll call, trustee Farina, trustee Mallon, trustee Murphy, Mayor Flynn.
Aye. I need we closed already, okay. Whew, all right. Now, we get to the meeting. Do you have public comment on agenda items only? Okay, department head reports. I have the treasurer's report. Monthly financial updates, revenue expense control reports, budget meeting continues. Tentative budget will be submitted to the village clerk. Thank you, sir. By Thursday, March 20th. Thank you, Dan. Dan, do not board that
I
up
won't.
before yet. Don't put any dimes into it till you check
Oh,
this,
no,
okay?
no, no.
And call me tomorrow.
Will do. He won't spend it.
Budget meetings continue and the tentative budget will be submitted to the village clerk by Thursday, March 20th. Village capital project update, 2013 bond proceeds have been received and are now available to pay off remaining TAM invoice. Workers' compensation fund and snow fund under budgeted for year 13-14, budget transfers required. Wastewater?
Wastewater. Average volume of wastewater this month was 0.769 million gallons per day, 5.5 inches of precipitation. The facility meets all New York State DEC speedies permit limitations. The Pellwood and Webb Lane stations are operating normally. The belt filler press was replaced and has been in operation for 4 days. Facility personnel working snow removal with street department for 8 days. Maintenance and lubrication monitoring machinery as required has gone normal. Maintenance of building and grounds as time allows was 25 days. Man hours lost due to sick, vacation personnel, compensation leave time 11 days. Overtime work scheduled 23, emergency 16, and snow removal 84. Gas consumption 74.5 gallons.
Building?
Building department in the month of February. In summary, there was 2 permit applications were received, 0 permits were issued, 2 certificates of compliance and occupancy were issued, 99 physical inspections were performed, 12 of which was fire and safety issues, 33 complaints were opened, 2 of which were unregistered vehicles, 33 advisory violation notices and notices of remedy were issued, 36 periodic inspections were opened, 35 which were landlord registration renewals, 7 municipal searches were completed, 1 zoning variance application was received, 0 planning board applications were received. For the month of February.
Water is not here. Fire.
Well, under new business, we'll be asking the board to approve 3 new firefighters. Public announcements, the penny social that is being put on by the fire department auxiliary is coming up on the 29th of this month at 4 p.m. And on April 13th, the regular pancake breakfast will take place. Chief Suarez was around the corner, is he still here?
Yes.
Come
on up, Chief.
Do you have anything to add?
Come on up, meet the public.
Just under the new business to approve the 3 firefighters that
Okay.
we approved.
Are you gonna step in front of the camera or no?
I can't, I'm blocked back here.
No problem.
Okay.
Good move.
Thank you.
And that's it.
Okay. Mayor's report.
Nope.
Again, as I wished everyone a happy St. Patty's Day, we raised the flag yesterday at Memorial Park. Mr. Jimmy Grant did a phenomenal job and was dressed to the hilt. Check out this week's paper. I wish it was in color. He made it look good. I would like to thank everybody for coming out. It was very nice. Tomorrow, we vote. I'm asking all the public, please come out. It is at Sacred Heart, 12 to 9, and is in the music room, correct? It's in the old portion of Sacred Heart, not the gym. So don't go to the gym and think we're not there for the vote. The old portion, in the music room, 12 to 9 tomorrow. We hope all citizens that are able can come out and join us for the vote. I am going to ask after the election, I think, particularly the village election, because doesn't fall in November. And if it's not some massive reason, goes unnoticed too often by people that don't realize it snuck up on them and the vote is here today. I've had a lot of response over the last 2 weeks when I mentioned to people, don't forget to vote. They're astonished. They're like, well, it's voting time? So I would like to discuss and put on the table to talk to the town and the school about getting general vote today signs. Not to say village, not to say school, just vote a couple of banners. And we don't even need to purchase them per se. We might be able to get Pepsi or someone to sponsor it, but just a large vote today, a couple in the town for all 3 elections, because I really believe we're missing people that want to vote, don't realize today was the day. And discussion. I have, where's that? We had a request from Supervisor Lizzie for the water contract. They want to, we've actually discussed it with the board. We are just waiting on our lawyer to give us the go-ahead. We have no problem with it whatsoever. I think it's a good move. I think they're looking out for the town. We just have to make sure all the T's are crossed, I's are dotted, and we can move forward. We'll put that on a future agenda as soon as possible. We actually have a budget meeting. If we hear from them by then, we can do it at that point. Okay? We have under new business. Is that for discussion or business? The correction, Gina?
New business.
It is for new business. Okay. We're moving into new business. I need a motion for a correction from the March 3rd meeting for Justin Lee's pay rate to $12.35 an hour. It was already discussed with him that it was just a clerical error. But I do need a motion so it's official that we accepted the pay rate at $12.35 an hour. Do I have a motion? Motion from Bob, second from Charlie. All those in favor? Opposed? I need a motion to approve the minutes as written for the regular meeting March 3rd, special meeting on March 3rd, special meeting on March 5th, special meeting on March 10th, and a special meeting on March 12th. Special meetings for the budget. Do I have a motion? Motion by Trustee Farina, second by Trustee Mellon. All those in favor? So move. I have budget transfers for the contingency accounts to Workmen's Compensation Fund and the Snow Fund. And they are in your packet. Can I do this as one shot, individually? One shot. Individual. Okay. I need a motion to make a transfer from account A1990.1990 to account number A9040.0800, contingency to Workman's Comp, in the amount of $1,470.46. Transfer cover Workman's Comp, 4th payment of the year. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Charlie Murphy, second. Second by Trustee Mellon. All's in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I need a motion to move from account F.1990.1990 to account number F.9040.0800. This is a transfer from the contingency fund to Workman's Comp in the amount of $4,024.58 to cover the last payment for the year. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Charlie Murphy, second by Bob Mellon. All those in favor? I need a motion to transfer account G1990.1990 to to account G.9040.0800. And the description is from the contingency to workman's comp, and that is the amount, again, of $4,024.58 to cover the payment for last year. Do I have a motion? From trustee Mellon, trustee Murphy, all those in favor? Opposed, moved. Last transfer, from account A5242.04 to account A5142.01. Description is contractual to salary in the amount of $3,315. This is to cover snow removal salary deficit. All those, do I have a motion? Trustee Farina, do I have a second? Second, trustee Mellon, all those in favor? Opposed? So moved. Yes. I need a motion. So can we do these all together, or is it separate?
You should do them separate.
Sold. I need a motion to accept Tara Leahy as one of the newest members of the Highland Falls Fire Department. Do I have a motion?
You do.
Do I have a second? Second by Anthony, all those in favor?
Aye.
So moved, congratulations Tara, welcome aboard. There's one, chief, that's all I got for you.
No.
I need a motion to accept Robert Jones.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Did you get that, Gina? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And I need a motion to accept Jean-Philippe Abraham to the Highland Falls Fire Department. Do I have a motion?
You do?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Moving on. I need a motion to approve the Falchetti proposal to prepare the MS4 compliance certification for March 13th, March 14th, reporting period at $6,000.
We're gonna have, what did we decide on, Ohio's?
We did not.
Okay. so
We're getting our,
before-
this is totally separate.
Okay. All right.
We're waiting on a third bid for that.
Okay. I'll make the motion, we hire full Shetty to do the MS4 report.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? I have a request for training by the DPW and Kevin Hurst to Hoffman Equipment, March 21st in Marlboro, 8 to 2. You have the paperwork in front of you. Training is free. I believe they're gonna have donuts. So, do I have a motion?
We do.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. I have a request to raise chickens, 17 Cousins Avenue. You have the paperwork in front of you. Are there any questions?
Is this a board issue?
It is. It's part of our code.
No, I mean, is it a board issue? Is it a building?
It is, actually. It's right here. It's good times. A little highlight action going on mine.
Okay.
We do have to approve, no person shall hereafter keep a house, horse, cattle, sheep, swine, or any other animal other than a cat or dog without permission of the village board. It is code 53-13 under other animals. And for reasons of offensive smell, noise, or other cause. We did have the pig.
Well, that falls into
And-
the swine category.
Yes, it does. That's why we had to approve it. So, my question is Ensign here tonight? Because the pig people did come in on their day. Is Ensign here today to tell us about the chickens? No?
In all seriousness, this individual does need to appear, because not only is it an issue potentially with neighbors, they should know that approval is being sought, but also it's my understanding that raising chickens, you can't just keep chickens and they keep producing eggs. They have sort of a short run of productivity for the eggs, and then you need to slaughter them and what have you, and, you know,
Christmas dinner.
in the slaughterhouse on 17. All right, that's a great actual point. If, as I can see the great expression on Mary Jane's face, you could add that
and are we
at some
talking a
point
rooster too?
in the small blurbs that at our next meeting, we will entertain a motion for chickens on 17 cousins, and that any person that wants to comment, not a full public hearing, but in case there's some issues, because we're not doing that again. In case there's some issues, that they come and talk to us. And definitely, we need to, Gina, we need to make sure Enton, if he wants us approved, he's gonna have to actually come before the board. Excellent, excellent point.
Just real quick, and I didn't even think about it when the pig came up. There may be deed restrictions on the property. I know particularly for my house, it actually says on the deed restriction, going way back, you can't have goats, chickens, pigs, you can't raise them. You can't raise them.
Horses.
I don't know if it says horses, but seriously.
Deed restrictions supersede village code.
Well, that's what that would be a question for
So we-
Mr. Copal, but I think you may have them on there, I don't know.
Okay, so we need to, who would have that, John Hager?
The property owner would probably.
So he would have to bring in the deed so that we can actually check
Just to
it?
take a look at it, I mean, it may say it on there, it may not.
Gina, if you could ask that Enton give us the deed prior to the meeting, so it can be confirmed that there is no restrictions for chickens. And then if he could make sure he makes it to the next meeting.
Could say nothing, but maybe it says, it might say it on it already, and therefore you don't even have to address it.
How many chickens applied?
I knew you weren't gonna keep it to yourself.
I was hoping you would say something.
Bob says, Mr. Coleman was to say something. We're gonna have to investigate the number of chickens per square foot.
Did they cross the road?
And our chief will make sure that's enforced.
Did they cross the road? Which one came first? Chicken or the egg?
Yes.
I grew up with chickens in the backyard.
I never knew that.
We had roosters. Most of the municipalities that are now allowing chickens say no roosters.
Correct.
Because of the noise.
We had a rooster,
I had,
they asked for one, we said no.
next door to us, we had guinea fowl and quail, and that was 8 feet from my door. I had no problem with it, but if you look in the stores, there are more magazines on urban and home farming now than ever before. If it's a way to save money, we never had it. My grandmother had chickens 1,500 years ago. There was never any problem with odor or.
There's a lot of communities, like agricultural communities, that have cows and horses, and you're a little more rural than we are.
Sparkhill, my son's neighbor had chickens.
Okay.
Up until the time the vultures were interesting overhead, and then they got chickens. But,
Yeah, I just, I don't know.
They might
I have no comment on
I don't
that.
even know who this is, but it's right behind our house. so-
Okay, moving on. Is it on chickens?
It is about the chicken.
All right, real quick, because we do.
No, but it's a concern.
Anyone else?
It's a health
No,
safety.
Loma will be the last one on
Love to hear
chickens.
you.
If you have any other chicken comments, public comment will be in a moment.
I like
But Loma,
this, yes.
go ahead with chickens.
All right, I want to know about whether or not this is going to be controlled by the police department, so we're not opening it up to maybe cockfighting down the road. Okay, because they just busted this huge ring up the line, and we take in everybody and anybody can come.
Chickens are not the fighters,
But
that's
I'm
the
saying,
roosters.
is there?
We don't allow roosters.
Okay,
Okay,
we're
that's fine.
talking
But I'm saying, who's
hens
gonna
only.
oversee? Is it the Board of Health? Is it the police department? Is it the building department? Are you
Chief
gonna
Scott's got
have them?
that, got that handled.
No, but I'm serious, but you know what I'm saying, like, is there gonna be money to be made off it? Are they gonna
I
feed
have
the
no idea.
locals? Is
We-
it a pantry feeding,
We will first check the deed,
Yeah, I wanna know.
then we'll check with the lawyer as far as restrictions.
Mhm.
And then, you know what, we'll ask Enton to do the legwork, because he wants them. He'll have to bring that information to the board.
Because that's a very serious thing, because I know of situations in Rockland and upstate where that's what they do.
It's gotten out of hand.
They bring them in and they make it look good to you, and then you try, and this guy was going on for years up there. I forget where the township was, New Paltz or whatever. I don't even remember where it was, but they took out hundreds and hundreds and thousands of birds, they were trained to be cockfighters or whatever you call them things, where they're all in the bin. They made money on it. It was like a gambling situation. All right, he's 73 years old, and they brought him up here from Florida to answer the charges. for all these chickens. So I'm just saying, if you're gonna bring chickens in, I wanna know who's in charge, who's gonna regulate it, who's gonna watch it, is there a permit?
Good question. Not, and
You
those
wanna know
are
about my
things,
permit for my jukebox?
and that's why we're gonna hold off till Enton gets us,
Good question.
gets us
And
that
the-
information.
The neighbors need to know that there's even.
Right.
Yeah,
a
and what,
proposal.
and also traffic, people come to pick up eggs, you know, who's gonna get rid of the chicken?
All right, okay.
We raise
All right,
chickens.
Well, it says
all
4 to
right.
6 chickens.
I
You're
raised
done.
chickens as a
You're
kid,
done.
and geese,
I
I
need
know about
I need a
chickens.
motion, I need a motion to accept the bills and claims for the year 13-14 in the amount of $286,045, $286,045.06. Do I have a motion?
Regrettably, I'll move it, we have to see it.
I have a second by trustee Farina, all those in favor? Opposed?
Can I just ask, did you cover this?
No, you can't, no.
Water
You
supply
you
agreement?
cannot ask.
Okay.
Public comment, yes.
Did you deal with the Sixth Amendment to the water supply agreement?
Yes, we did.
Oh, you did, I didn't hear that, and the cell tower?
Nope, that's not ready to be put out. I
Okay.
talked to Ben 3 hours ago, and he said he got a couple phone calls from somebody, and he's gonna take what they suggested, 2 or 3 different suggestions, tweak it so that it's ready. You know, you understand, right? I'll talk to you afterwards.
I don't understand that. But it would have been nice to know at 7 o'clock.
Is that what you're here for? I'm sorry. I apologize, Ed.
Can we take?
I thought you were just hanging out.
I understand.
I thought you were just hanging out with
No,
us.
this was like a last minute thing.
It was taken off only because he wasn't prepared, because he wants to address all the concerns. There were several concerns that were brought to him last minute. He wants to make sure everything's addressed before he moves forward with it. And I do apologize, that I didn't even realize that. I've been seeing you so often, I thought we were spending time.
I thought it was the chicken thing that was.
I'm sorry.
But-
I'll make sure I don't make the mistake again.
But doesn't
I
that?
thought it was the noise ordinance you were concerned about when you had problems.
He's already
on Fourth of July.
Okay, any other public comment? Yes, sir.
I was called here publicly to speak
What's
about
going on?
cell phones, and I have a little thing I'd like to go to so the public can hear it.
Please, stand up and face the camera so they can see what's going on, my friend.
My name is Wayne Kocher. I have about 30 years with the environment. I was a very serious fisherman. As I watched the quality of fish go down and the lesions and cancer rates go up, I started becoming a very heavy-duty environmentalist. I've done 20 years with the Riverkeeper. I have 5 years with the Clearwater and the Sloop Club. Cell phones and cell towers, this whole deal is a real negative for our children and grandchildren. That's who I'm speaking about. We've all had a shot at life. Give these kids a chance. The cell phone was designed solely for emergency only. When I was down at work for Metro North, I did 32 years, they gave me one of these. I read the instructions, refused to use it. I was also a whistleblower down there. I got the company fined twice, so I wasn't a liked person, but they were afraid of me. But anyway, we have a lot of problems. Right now, if you blacken the skies, there's 4.2 billion cell phones throughout the world as of 5 years ago. That's only increasing. All you would see if everything was blackened is the radiation going through. It's tapping through everybody. If you live in an apartment and there's Wi-Fi in 3 places, you're getting all that juice. If you read your cell phone, somewhere on page 86, it's going to tell you the dangers. There are safer cell phones, but they won't come out with that because that holds them liable for the other.